The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
The Supreme Court has refused to hear an appeal challenging President Obama's U.S. citizenship. The case challenging the president was argued by Gary Kreep, a Ramona lawyer. Kreep is also running neck and neck in a San Diego County Superior Court race, a race still too close to call tonight. Joanne Farian speaks with Gary Kreep at the roundtable.
Gary Kreep versus Garland Peed. The names Kreep versus Peed were enough to generate some buzz on the blogosphere, even mention on the national talk show circuit. But one of the candidates, Gary Kreep, has long made news for other reasons. Here's a clip from a 2009 infomercial about President Barack Obama's citizenship.
On today's program, I have with me attorney Gary Kreep, who's the executive director of the United States Justice Foundation. Gary has been on the front lines of trying to force the president to produce his official state of Hawaii birth certificate.
Gary Kreep sued President Obama on Inauguration Day and is now suing the California Secretary of State, demanding she verify the citizenship of all presidential candidates before they appear on the November ballot. Gary Kreep is also close to becoming a San Diego County Superior Court judge. He joins me now. Gary, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me on your show.
So first, let's talk about this race that is still too close to call. Last you heard, are you winning or losing?
I'm 1,093 votes down with 88,000 votes to count. Now, on Thursday at 5 p.m., I was 156 votes down, and Garland obtained that 900-vote edge by the counting of 25 or 27,000. So I have very good reason to believe that I'll pick that up and more when they count the rest of the 88,000 votes.
We were talking earlier, this may in fact be the closest race ever in the history of Superior Court judge in San Diego County. I want to let people at home know, again, you're running against San Diego prosecutor Garland Peed. He declined to be on today's show. He tells us he will wait patiently for election results. I mentioned earlier your lawsuit against President Barack Obama, and that lawsuit was on behalf of Reverend Wiley S. Drake. Now, controversial figure himself, Southern California minister who once called on First Southern Baptist Church flock to pray for Obama's death. Why did you sue the president?
Well, the whole purpose of the lawsuit, and by the way, I didn't file that lawsuit. The January 2009 lawsuit, somebody else did. But because of the lack of abilities of that attorney, I was asked to take over it for a number of clients. And I currently represent Dr. Alan Keyes, of African-American descent, Markham Robinson, and Dr. Wiley Drake in that case. But we did that because we believe that it's important to protect the Constitution. It's important for people to have faith in our government and faith in our elected officials. And Mr. Obama's spending of over $2 million, according to published reports, to keep people from seeing his real birth certificate, which no one has yet seen. We've seen copies, purported copies of it. We've seen computer compilations of various documents that are supposed to be the real birth certificate, but no one's ever seen the real one. And in fact, the governor of the state of Hawaii earlier this year said they didn't have Mr. Obama's birth certificate in Hawaii official records. Only 3 months later, all of a sudden they found it. So,
do you think Barack Obama is a citizen of the United States?
I have sincere doubts. According to his paternal step-grandmother, who stated in a published statement, a recorded statement that no one has ever disputed, he was born in Mombasa, in what is now Kenya, and she performed a Zulu birth ritual on him. Now, why would one of his own, and other cousins of his have confirmed this, so why would his own family say he was born in Mombasa? And because of federal law, if he was born in Mombasa, he's not even a U.S. citizen.
Let's talk about the other lawsuit, the more recent one here in California. Do you think Mitt Romney is a citizen?
Well, questions have been raised about that, and the purpose of the lawsuit is to challenge Elections Code Section 6901. The Secretary of State of California is required by law to verify the eligibility of every candidate for every office in California, including president and vice president. However, a law passed by the Democrats a few years ago placed the ability to determine who's the candidate, who should be on the presidential ballots for the Republican and Democrat parties, in the hands of the parties. So, and the parties have no interest in verifying eligibility.
When you say questions about Mitt Romney, is that because his grandfather was born in Mexico? Is that why you have concerns?
I don't have concerns, but my clients have concerns. I'm representing them. And they think that all candidates should have their eligibility verified. It doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat.
Do you think, if you're a Superior Court judge, if you end up winning this race, do you think that your position on these issues will affect your credibility?
No. I've handled between 1,000 and 2,000 cases as judge pro tem. I've handled numerous cases as a family law settlement judge. I've been able to do that. The representing clients has nothing to do with handing out justice. Judges make law every day, and judges need to be open-minded. I mean, I've been attacked by people who said right out that, well, you can't be a Christian and be on the bench because Christians can't be unbiased. Well, that's ridiculous. As much as 80% of the people in the United States profess some relationship with Christianity.
Let's talk about that, because you founded a number of organizations, United States Justice Foundation, Justice Political Action Committee, groups that are closely aligned with what some might call very traditional Christian social values. Do you see your role as a Superior Court judge to uphold those values, or are these things that you hope as a judge you can maintain?
My role as a judge, if I am elected, excuse me, I'm sorry. My role as a judge, if I am elected, is to uphold first the United States Constitution, which according to the California Constitution is preeminent over the California Constitution, then the California Constitution, then the laws of our state. My personal views really have nothing to do with how I rule in cases. I have to follow the law. That's what I'm required to do. When
we talk about your personal views, things like abortion, immigration, you're also the lawyer for the Minutemen. You're the lawyer who represented the Marine who posted some unflattering comments about the president. How do you separate that? If you're a judge and you have a certain worldview, how do you not take that to the bench?
Well, my worldview is based upon the Bible, is based upon the Constitution. As a judge, I would be...
Bible as well? It's based
Which
on the
is
Bible
based
as well?
upon the Bible, yes. I mean, if you read the Founding Fathers' documents, they based the Constitution on the Bible. You look at the Declaration of Independence. I mean, they're not talking about some esoteric thing there. They're talking about God. But as a judge, my role would be to enforce the U.S. Constitution, then California Constitution, then state laws. And if a state law conflicts with either of those, then it has to go.
Gary Kreep will follow this race closely. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me on your show, and God bless you.
Since Joanne did that interview earlier today, there's been another update from the Registrar of Voters. It shows Garland Peede holding a lead of just 601 votes over Gary Kreep. 26,000 ballots still need to be counted.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.